welcome to our podcast, Broker Banner Denver, where we are breaking down barriers to home ownership. I am your host, Kim Davis, the real estate expert.
And I'm Patrick Williams, the mortgage guy. We're here to inform and educate about the home buying and financing process.
And on today's episode, we're going to talk about a couple of articles that we found on Forbes and Fox Business about best and worst states to save money in 2024 and how we can help you with some savings and possibly what you can do about down payment while you're savings. Patrick will talk about a little bit of CHFA. But until we get to that, let's check in with one another. How you doing?
One another is good. I am good. How are you, Kim?
You don't like the check in with
No, I like it. I
think I said that last. I think that's going to be the tag.
Okay. It's great. I love it. I just like to give you a hard time.
We can touch base on this really quick. Not that we have to spend a lot of time on it, but did you see that Nikola Jokic, MVP, just was told yesterday?
I think it's great.
Oh, no.
It is. I mean, he deserves to be the MVP this year. But absolutely. If they get swept by the Minnesota Timberwolves, who cares?
Okay.
Right?
Well, this doesn't come out until next week, so I guess there's a chance. What we play on Friday and they play on. So
they play Friday and then maybe Sunday again. Yeah.
And so by the time this podcast come out, we could be done. So we'll just say yay for Nikola and
keep our fingers crossed. So I guess in modern NBA, 4 teams have come back from an 0-2 deficit where they had home court advantage.
Well, and worst case scenario, we still have the Avs.
The Avs looked good. I was a little worried. I was a little worried about that last game too. We were down 3 goals to nothing in the first.
I know. It was crazy. 1 in overtime. But that will be old news too by the time this comes out. So what can we talk about that's
Well, Mother's Day is this weekend. Do you have
any news too?
Well, but we can. I mean,
yes,
we can talk about
Day.
Mother's Day. It's very important.
Mm-hmm. My kids work Mother's Day. They
so they probably make good money, right, on Mother's Day?
I don't know. My mom has a restaurant called Zomo in Inglewood, and
great restaurant, by the way.
My niece and nephew who own it, and they work there, so they will be there for Mother's Day. So that's okay. I think we talked about this, but my youngest daughter, Lulu, is graduating high school this year. Tomorrow is her last day of school.
Wow.
And then we have graduation the next week. And so, it's a little bit stressed. She's stressed. And so.
But she's done, right? I mean, she's done. She's graduating.
She's done with high school, yes. What I have found out is that I think a lot of kids who aren't sure what they're doing the next year, the worst part about graduating high school is everyone asking them, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
What are your plans?
I don't know.
And I have a daughter who is still trying to figure that out, so she's going to take a gap year. And I
think that's smart. I mean, just because if you're not sure that you want to go to college, it's so expensive these days. Don't go waste a year if that, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Just because of the societal pressure that you should,
But I think I think it's great to get a college degree. I have a college degree, but I don't think they are the same, a degree, depending on what field you go into, is as I don't know what's the word I'm looking for? Not profitable, but
it's like your return on an investment.
Yeah.
Right? It's so expensive to go to school anymore.
Yes.
So you have to really weigh it out.
Right. I know people leaving school with $150,000 of debt. And I had a little debt outside of college, but I paid, I kind of worked my way through college.
Right.
I did finally get some debts in the end, but I left with about $20,000, and I thought that was a lot.
Well, and that's the thing too. It's like $20,000 is one thing, $150,000 is another. Right. And we talk about home ownership and trying to get into your first home. Right. You've dug yourself into a hole that's really tough to get out of.
Correct.
So, I mean, we can talk more about that, as we go through the episode. But
segue into this article.
Yeah, well, so the first article that I found this week, it was on Fox News, and Barbara Cochran was talking about.
Love her from Shark Tank.
Shark Tank. She's amazing.
And also a realtor.
She's really in touch with the real estate market. Yeah. And so a new survey came out from the New York Fed, and it basically stated that current renters are coming to the point where they fear they'll never be able to buy a home. And so that just kind of made me think about like, what are some of the biggest obstacles to home ownership, right? I think obviously education is one, just understanding the process and trying to figure that out.
Education of how you buy a house.
Not college educate, like
right,
not having a degree, but
education on, hey, I want to buy a house. What do I need to do? And what is the mortgage on that? And I think we've talked about this in the past, but a lot of people think you need 20% down. And so renters maybe who aren't educated go, oh, I'm never going to get to that 20%.
Well, and when you start looking at, housing prices at $500,000, saving $100,000 that's an astronomical feat.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. If I had to save $100,000 when I bought my first house, it would have been forever.
I've never saved $100,000 in my entire life. No. Right. No, I mean, maybe in retirement after the last 20 years, right. but I mean, like saving $100,000, here's $500 and then accumulate $100,000. Like that's a pretty tall order.
Right.
So this survey actually said the percentage of renters who say obtaining a mortgage is somewhat or very difficult was almost at 75%.
See that.
So that's an 8 percentage point increase from last year and far above the low of 50% in 2021 when interest rates were so low.
Yes.
So that's a huge 75% feel like there's no chance they'll be able to qualify for a mortgage. That jumped out at me. The same percentage of renters who said they believe they will eventually become homeowners fell to 40%, which is a drop of over 4% from the last survey done. So we're talking only 4 out of 10 renters believe they'll ever own a home.
Which is a shame because isn't that, part of the American dream to own your home and to be able to ride that
it is.
equity, right, into the next house. And honestly, I know people who sometimes that's their retirement, the equity in their home.
Yeah.
And,
and it is really the first step to creating wealth for the next generation, right? Like you buy a home and you pass that on to your kids. Typically by that time, hopefully it's paid off or, got a pretty low balance on it. So it really is. And when you buy a home in 20 years, what's it going to be worth, right? Like it is really one of the best ways to create
wealth.
Yeah.
We, of course, are big advocates for owning homes. I mean, we are a realtor and mortgage broker. So not only, but for, people think that, yes, this is a job for us, and it is. But honestly, we are in this industry because we love to help people. And we want people to get into a house, and we do think that it is like one of the best things that you can do for
I think it's the number one
financial health.
I think it's number one. I was able to buy my first home before either one of my parents ever owned a home.
Right.
And looking back on that decision in my 20s to buy a home, it was one of the best financial decisions I've ever made.
So saying that, I mean, same with me. I have kind of the same story. Yeah. I bought a house before my parents did, and actually my mom still rents, and so they were first immigrants here to the United States, and they thought about. That's okay. Actually, I lied. That is not true. In Denver.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
they owned before you moved to Denver.
Correct. And they still. My father has since passed, but my mother still rents. And I'm a real estate broker, and so we are looking at buying our house now. But, it was one of the best things that we ever did as, buying a house. It really has given us a lot to be able to do a lot. It's because we owned a house that we had equity that we were able to buy investment properties off of that first house, building, wealth. And I took that we took that and bought some investment properties. So it is very important.
I mean, you continue to just pay that mortgage down, and on average, we're seeing, somewhere between 5 and 8% of equity, right? So it's a great investment.
Yes. So I guess why we are saying that is because we don't want you to feel, if you're a renter, that you can't be able to buy. That article makes us a little bit sad.
That 4 out of 10 people just don't have hope that they'll ever reach
Correct.
that milestone.
So we're here to hopefully give you some hope. And so there's another article that was by
I think it was Forbes. Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Well, I guess best and worst states to save money. And Colorado was in the top 10.
Yeah, we came in at number 9, and looking at the list, it's like California, Hawaii, Oregon, Maryland. I think Nevada's up there, which that was actually a little surprising.
Interesting.
Yeah, the one common thing that I'm noticing is that these are high cost of living areas. So when you're spending, more than 25% on housing every month, it becomes very difficult to save money. So with that said, one of the biggest obstacles, I think, to buying a home is that down payment, right?
Yes.
And trying to save up some money. The first thing that you need to know is that you'd be surprised how little money that you can come to the table with at a closing. I work with CHFA, which is the Colorado Housing and Finance Authority, and they have a first-time homebuyers program where if your household income is less than $160,000 a year, you qualify. So you have to be a first-time homebuyer, which means you haven't owned a home in the last 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah. Some people mistake, well, I owned a home 10 years ago. I'm not a first-time home buyer. No, it's within the most recent 3 years. And in that program, you can come to the closing table. Their minimum requirement is $1,000.
$1,000. So that does you do need a little help on the real estate side.
You do.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some things that, typically we have to establish your escrow account for taxes and insurance, and you have to pay your first year's premium of homeowners and things like that.
Well, he went through that really quick. So someone who has never bought a house, an escrow account.
Okay. So an escrow account is something, typically we like to collect your insurance premium and your taxes and 1/12 of those every month and hold them in an account for you so that when they come due, we can pay them. You don't have to come up with the full amount every year. So you're just paying a smaller amount every month.
And that does affect your monthly payment. And so I think as someone who's new, escrow, so that money usually is collected at the very beginning when you buy your house, and so you usually pay for 1 year of insurance right off the bat.
Correct. Insurance is always paid up front.
Right off the back. I said bat.
I think it's bat.
Is it bat? B-A-T? As
I
in
think
like
so.
A vampire bat?
No, is that like a baseball bat?
Okay.
You know what's funny? My wife always says right down the pipe, and I'm like, sweetie, it's pike. It's down the pike. She's like, no, it's down the pipe. And so there's so many of those things that you get wrong.
Sense.
Like, no, it does. It's like, yeah, I get that it's down the pipe.
Well, I used to think it's double hitters instead of double headers in baseball. So, that being said, I didn't grow up with a lot of sayings around my house.
Well, that's good.
Parents.
Well, I always thought that it was an old wives' tale.
Oh, not wives' tale.
Yeah, that made when I heard wives, I was like, oh, that's totally different than a wise tale. Like I always thought, it's just old wisdom, an old wise tale, right?
Right.
And which goes hand in hand.
Well, I think double hitter, right?
Makes sense.
The batter is hitting a baseball. It should be a double hitter, not
it's
a double
funny
header.
because sometimes your parents hear you say things wrong and they're like, oh, that's so cute. And then they never correct you. And then you just grow up saying it wrong. You're like, thanks, mom and dad.
Okay, so for a side note, my I think it was Ava, my oldest, when she was really young, she saw Santa and she goes, oh, look, Christmas. Not that we do know Christmas is about the birth of Jesus, but yes, she thought
Santa plays a big role these days.
Christmas.
He was Christmas.
It was cute.
That is.
And then Jay corrected her, and I was like, why would you do that?
I have a great story about Santa Claus if you want to hear it. I don't know if we have time.
Okay, I think we have time.
Okay. So my wife told my kids very young that Santa Claus was not real.
Paula, why?
Because it's not about Santa Claus. Christmas isn't about Santa Claus. And so I took them out to go get donuts or something one Saturday morning. I said, what did you ask Santa for? And my son looks me dead in the eye and goes, Santa Claus is dead. Aww. And I was like, oh my gosh, what has happened? And so I'm like, what did you do? That could have been a good conversation for us to have, before you just, and then the power of culture and everything. By the next Christmas, we were fine. They'd totally forgotten.
They forgot?
Yeah, everything was fine again.
So my Ava told my youngest daughter, Lulu, that about Santa, but Lulu was afraid that if she knew that we knew that Santa wasn't going to bring her a gift anymore.
So she played
dumb for a few years.
Smart girl.
And they still get her a present from Santa. And I apologize to anyone. I don't think
maybe we should have given a warning. Like, hey, if you have little ones in the car, you might want to stop the podcast at this point.
warning. Yeah. Jesse, you think you can re-edit that? Yeah. Oh, I don't think. I mean, what are the chances
I don't know that most kids that
are going to be listening to a podcast about
real estate.
Yeah,
I'm guessing we're probably
and if
probably
we ruined
safe.
it, we are so sorry.
Yes, please send emails to kimdavis@remax.net. Okay, so back on task here. So
CHFA,
so we were talking about earnest money or escrow accounts.
And so yes, you need to have that money. So basically, depending on the house, right? Depending on how much money you have to save, you can need anywhere, thousands of dollars, right?
Yeah, insurance premiums have gone up quite a bit we've talked about that, in recent podcasts. But I think one of the things that we talk about doing is seeing if we can get some seller concessions to contribute.
Exactly. So that's what I was going to talk about. So if we go and we look and we find a house, you of course are pre-qualified or pre-approved.
Of course, nobody goes to look for a house before they've talked to a mortgage advisor, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Or that is the
if
correct
you do
steps.
that.
Yes. If you have a realtor that takes you out to a house before you're pre-qualified or pre-approved, that is not good because you may not be able to buy that house that you just fell in love with.
Right.
So talk to your mortgage person, hopefully Patrick, and then he will say, and we will know, like, if you have any assets. But let's say you're one of those people who've had a hard time saving.
It's hard.
And you saved $1,000 because Dave Ramsey told you should.
Yeah, or you got a nice tax return where,
He would not tell you to buy a house, right, like that.
No, he probably wouldn't. I don't know that Dave Ramsey is. I think he's great. Like, if you can't afford something, don't buy it. It's pretty. But at the same time, where he talks about housing expenses, a 15-year at 25% of your, there's no way.
He did help our family get out of debt. But that being said, let's say you've saved up $1,000. And that is all the money that you have. We can try to help and ask for seller concessions. And seller concessions are when we just ask the seller to pay for, your escrows and your closing costs and the other extra things. Now, in this market, can that happen? Absolutely. It would be helpful if maybe you had more than $1,000 saved. But
sure.
CHFA does allow, the minimum is that you must bring $1,000 to then get a house.
Yeah, which I think is pretty incredible.
It is pretty incredible.
To be able to go and buy a home
for
where you're out of pocket $1,000 is absolutely amazing.
And believe it or not, we are working with some younger, when I say younger, 20s, which is younger than me, working
there's a lot of people that are younger than us anymore.
I know.
There's a lot of people that fall into that bracket.
It's so sad.
Yeah.
But younger people who are, using CHFA right now. Now, they do have a little bit more than $1,000 saved.
They do.
They have close to, 10. And so, yes, is that helpful? That is very helpful. So
it is.
That way, maybe we don't have to ask for all seller concessions.
Yeah.
But, we want to give you hope that, hey, save $1,000. Let's see what we can do.
Yeah. I think what people, there's like a fear of the unknown, right? And you're like, my credit's not great. I don't think I'm ready. I hear that a lot. Like, I've got some things I need to work on. I'm not sure I'm ready. And I always say, well, let's find out. Like, let me go ahead, check your credit, look at your income, and if you're not ready, that's okay. I'm glad to work with buyers for a year if I have to.
2 years.
Yeah,
3
it's
years.
not like, but at least like, okay, I need to save X amount of money, and maybe you can set up a budget, which we'll talk about here as we go forward. But or I need to pay down some debt. I need to work on my credit. Like I can
or I need to build credit.
Or I need to build credit.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what usually happens is you would start with, calling Patrick, and then he would do a soft pull, right? Or would you have to do a hard pull?
No, I can always do just a soft credit check, which that just means that it's not actually an inquiry on your credit and doesn't affect your credit score.
Right.
Yeah.
And so then we could see, hey, your credit score is low, or you need more credit, or it's low because you have no credit.
No credit,
Or you need to pay off a car, or you need to pay off a credit card so that we can get your credit score up.
And then you have steps that you're working towards. It's
Correct.
like, okay, here's my goal. And I don't know about you, but I'm a goal setter.
Yes.
Most of the time, the goals that I set are not like, okay, now I'm at the goal. They're usually steps to get to the goal, right? And so if you have those steps, sometimes it's a lot easier to just kind of check off some of those smaller boxes as you go. And but the end goal is in mind, within the next 12 months.
Buying a house.
Yeah.
And building some equity.
Building equity.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so maybe if you're on CHFA, maybe you don't get your dream house, right off the bat, which, let's be honest, that is normal.
Everybody that I know, it's called a starter home. Right?
Starter home, and then you go to your next move up, and then sometimes another move up, and then another move up, and then a move down. Most people stay in their houses 5 to 7 years. And
I'm at 5 right now.
Oh,
so we can move. If we hit 5.
Well, you know why? Because if both of your kids leave and you're empty nesters, what do you need a house so big for?
I don't know. That's a very good question, Kim. Maybe we need to have a conversation.
I know a good realtor who could sell that house for you.
Okay, great. If you would send me her info, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, Kim Davis at remax.net.
So yeah, CHFA is a great. There's a lot of other down payment assistance programs. We have another one in Denver called Metro DPA. There's some national ones, and I'm always able to look at those programs and see if there's money out there that you qualify for. The way that CHFA works, and I'm not sure that everybody understands, and I won't get too far into the weeds.
Okay.
But what they do is they actually give you 4% of your loan amount. As help towards your down payment. And the way that works is it's what we call a silent second. So it is actually like a second loan on the home, but you never have to make a payment on it. And the only time you ever have to repay it is if you refinance or you sell the house.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's it's there, but as you're building equity, all of a sudden that little 4%, you're like, after 5 years, I have, $50,000 worth of equity in my home.
And so hopefully, and it should have paid itself off, and you didn't have to come to the table with that.
Exactly.
So it can help you get into a home. And like I said, we're here to help
break down barriers.
Yeah, break down barriers.
That's the tagline.
So we were saying some ways that we see that can maybe help you save. And I know some of these are crazy because one that we see with younger people a lot is they do a lot of Uber Eats and what's the other one?
DoorDash. Yeah.
And I know because my kids do it. And
so do mine.
You cannot afford to DoorDash or Uber Eats.
Get your butt up and go get some food.
Or how about go walk to the refrigerator?
Yeah, but I don't want that food. Yeah, I think that's
why not? Because I have to put effort into making it.
That's right. Yeah, well, the other thing that is big that I've noticed because I do look at a lot of people's credit.
Yes.
And the numbers actually support this. So the average car payment in America right now, do you want to guess how much that is?
$600.
$750 a month. That is the average car payment.
Wow.
So, I mean, every month you're dishing out $750 towards a car. Like maybe downsize. Maybe go find an older car that you're able to pay cash for and not have to. And then you can take that $750 a month and put it in a savings account.
Yes.
And there's actually the flip side to interest rates right now is that you can throw stuff into a money market account or a certificate of deposit, and you can earn close to 5% returns on that on just those savings accounts.
$750 for a car. That's a asset that depreciates.
That's correct.
So even though we know, we like nice cars also, but it would be better for you to get a house and get a lesser car. Right, which appreciates.
Yeah.
And then you can get that car that you want and hopefully not have to spend $750.
Yeah, maybe you're able to put some more money down. You've put yourself into a better position. I just car payments are tough because we all do like to drive nice cars, and I don't want to.
And I've heard it's the number one wealth killer. Is that true?
Yeah.
Do you know if that's true? I've heard it. But
I think it's when you start thinking about, and I see a lot of families where they have 2 car payments like that.
Yes.
So we're talking about $1,500 a month that's going towards an asset that is going to be worth less every single year you own that car. I think the sweet spot for cars, to be honest with you, is right around 3 years. So if you can find a lease return that's maybe got 36,000 miles on it, and you let somebody else take that hit as they drove off the lot, it's still a new car. I mean, you look at a 2021 car. That's a nice car still.
It is,
right?
Very nice car.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they haven't even changed the body style, so
right.
No one knows.
Nobody knows.
Right.
Yeah.
What else do you have?
Okay, so this is the one thing that I would recommend. And I've fallen victim to this. Yeah. It's all of these subscriptions. Everything is a subscription now, right? I've got Spotify, I've got Netflix, I've got Apple TV, I've got like so many of them.
How about Fubo?
I don't have Fubo. I do appreciate my friends who have Fubo though, but
we have all this, and,
all of them. Amazon.
Yes.
Like everybody wants you to subscribe. And I know a lot of people do like Chewy. That's one like where it's like a pet food subscription. But you know what? There's some people that have 2 of the same thing and they don't even realize it. So go through your monthly subscriptions and see, there might be things that you're getting charged for, that gym membership that you signed up 2 years ago that you don't even realize you still have. Right. That's a good way to kind of find some expenses and get rid of those.
Yeah, I agree. I think actually Jay and I both pay for Amazon Prime. I don't know why we pay separately, but
you both
we
do. Yeah. I don't think you need to.
No.
Yeah.
I think one is connected to probably a business.
Oh, okay.
Account, so
that makes a little more sense. The other thing is eating out. That's one that we also fall victim to. My wife is a nurse, and so she works really long days.
Right.
She works from like 7 to 7
And so she doesn't want to cook when she gets home, and
yeah,
you work odd hours sometimes.
I do.
So sometimes it's hard to.
In the
dinner.
evening, I'm out helping people or what have you, meeting with people. And then my daughter's a vegetarian. I don't know how to cook for vegetarians, so that's been a challenge. I'm a meat and potatoes guy. I'm good at throwing some steak on the grill and a baked potato and a veggie, and so it's been a challenge to cook for all of us.
I've thought about becoming vegetarian, mostly for the weight loss aspect of it, but I just haven't quite gotten all the way there because I do like a good hamburger. All right. Anyways.
So eating out. $5 Starbucks or your coffee of your choice, right? Like I know Dutch Bros is big now too. That's what my kids love is Dutch Brothers.
Starbucks is out. Dutch Brothers
and I'm not saying I think when people hear you talk about like a budget, it's like I don't want to be on a budget.
Right.
Well, sometimes it's okay to budget because then you realize, I'm spending all this money on wasteful things. Like I'm eating out lunch every day or, if you're really committed to, I want to own a house, brown bag it. There's nothing wrong with making a sandwich and taking it to work with you.
We're talking about things that maybe you should do forever, but we're talking about like temporary.
Yeah.
Right? Like these are some temporary things to do.
In the next year.
Help you become a homeowner. If this is really a goal that you want, we are here and we want to help you get there.
Well, we just talked about what if you when looking at these subscriptions, you're able to cut another $100, and then eating out you're spending $250 to $300 a month. Right there, we're almost talking like I bet you could find $500 a month to cut, and then in 1 year you have $6,000 in a savings account, which we just said. We can work with that.
Right. Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're saying if you can save $500 a month for 1 year, $6,000, we can more than likely get you into a house.
Yep.
I mean, there are other variables, but like for the most part, right now in this market, we are finding that sellers are paying seller concessions to help buyers get into a home. So it can absolutely happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just a couple tips. I mean, so the Uber Eats obviously is a big one, right?
Yeah.
What other kind of things can we do to save money? You got any other tips?
Not really. I think we covered everything. Cook at home. Don't do your Uber Eats. And
yeah.
How about you? Do you have any interest rate updates for us?
Yeah, yesterday was kind of a big day.
Which yesterday was the 8th, just for those.
That is correct. And
next week.
On April 10th, we had a similar event. And so what happens, interest rates, mortgage rates are tied closely to the 10-year yield.
Correct.
For bonds, okay?
Yes.
And the government has been spending a lot of money that they don't have. And so what they're doing is they're selling bonds.
Wait. The government's spending money they don't have?
What?
Okay.
Wait, tell us more about that.
Okay. So anyways.
So on April 10th, which is where we got to the point where we're at the worst rates of the year, that day there was a massive bond offering, and that was what drove yields to their highest levels of the year. So we had another offering yesterday, and we actually came out okay. So we've got some numbers that are helping us, which were unemployment filings. They were higher than expected, so we're starting to see some cracks in the labor market. The Fed is looking for that. They start seeing that, they're going to be more likely to start decreasing rates. The big bond offerings yesterday, yields held steady under 4.5, which is what we want. So we are seeing really kind of steady rates, nothing too drastic, but we're off of those year highs.
Yes.
We have come back down off of that.
And so from when we spoke last week, you had said good news, and that was the first this past week has been the first where we've seen some lowering of interest rates. And you are still predicting, of course we know, you can never be for sure, but predicting that they're going to continue to go down. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm hopeful. We saw some better pricing this week as well.
Good.
So things are starting. It's nothing like they're dropping the floors.
Right.
It's like
we still aren't seeing
tiny price improvements. Yes,
but we are not seeing.
We're not 7.5. No, and we're hopefully we don't get back to that point. So I am encouraged.
Right, and of course, interest rates always change. It's based on credit. It's based on how much money you have down. It's based on, and so we're just talking in generalization. In general, this is some of the things that we are seeing. So,
so price improvements, rates are looking better as we end this week, and there's some things that we'll be looking at next week. We can talk about again next time.
That's great. Thank you for that update.
You're welcome.
And on that note, I think that concludes our.
Yeah, I think that probably wraps it up, right? So if you found anything valuable in this podcast, please like, share. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube.
Thanks. Bye.